SMarketPlace, sales, marketing, and rock and roll, where we dive into people and personalities who are sales and marketing professionals, and we talk about what they want to CEOs and business leaders to know about their secret sauce, and then we talk about rock and roll and people's music tastes, and kind of finish up the show that way. I'm joined here with my co-host Tom. Hi, Tom Dempsey. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Keith. Hope everything's well on your end.
So it's been a few weeks. How have you been?
Been good, been really good. I'm trying to think of I haven't been to any live music lately, which is killing me. But there is a documentary on AMC tonight around the country on a band called Pavement, and my daughter and I are going to go see that. So that kind of counts.
It does. I didn't go. It didn't work out. But my daughter just turned me on to a band she's followed for several years called Peach Pit.
Peach Pit. All right.
And
Cool.
I said, it sounds like the Beatles' grandchildren to me.
Peach Pit. I'm going to write that down.
Check it out.
I'd love to get turned on to new stuff.
Well, we have a really cool guest today. Most of who we've had on here are service providers. We've had a couple technologies, but uh, we have a company called Warmly that has some really cool technology, and I'm looking forward to having Boris on the show. Boris, welcome.
All
Hey,
right.
it's good to be here.
Good to have you.
Absolutely. So, Boris, you are head of partnerships for Warmly. Why don't you tell us? And that's how we got to know you. We're really impressed with what you guys are doing. Um, but why don't you tell us about Warmly and about your role there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good to have partners like you that are kind of like using Wormly on a daily basis, so you can almost talk about it out of your own experience. So, yeah, a bit about Wormly. We see ourselves as autonomous revenue orchestration platform. So we kind of like connect a few different things. We use intent data and buyer signals, so we will pretty much tell you like who's coming to your website on a company and a prospect level. And when you think about this, there are many tools that kind of like have done this historically, kind of like give you information on who's coming to your site on a company level. We kind of like came in here and also added this person level identification, and also a huge missing point, which was like a gap in the entire process, was what do you do with all this data? So we implemented an AI chatbot workflow where you can kind of like catch people in real time on your website and convert them right on the spot. Or if you miss them in real time, you can retarget them back with emails, LinkedIn, ads, whatever channels you might be using. So that's kind of like a high level overview of Warmly. What I do at Warmly is I care about partnerships. So as a partnership manager, I'm basically partnering with other technologies. I can mention a few partners from like the tech space: HubSpot, Apollo, Outreach, SalesLoft, Clay, Slack. So very, very good partners, and we play really well with them. And on the other side, we have so many agency partners, mainly like HubSpot ecosystem service providers, because it's kind of like a no-brainer. If these are basically companies like yours, Kate, where you're already helping organizations get better with HubSpot. So why not, in the meantime, introduce them to Warmly as well, where they can see a lot more value connecting Warmly to HubSpot. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that is how we met. I'm curious about on the tech platform side, you had some really impressive, besides HubSpot, that's already impressive. Um, Clay, for example.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the integrations and how that builds out your solution.
Yeah, well, Personally, I think that some like any company is not really leveraging clay in today's environment is falling behind. So I would say around probably like 15 to 20% of our active partners at this moment are clay agencies, clay experts. Um, we've seen them everywhere on LinkedIn. So they're already helping, like companies with clay automations. A very, very common play that we do with Warmly is we're basically trying to help all these clay experts or clay users go after more warm data. So instead of putting a list of 10,000 cold prospects into clay, wasting all these credits, and then doing enrichments and personalization and reaching out, why not go after a list that is super high intent? Something like people that came to your pricing page twice in the last 24 hours. So this is a very specific group you can push into clay and kind of like do more enrichments and reach out based on exactly what they did on the website. So it's kind of like more low hanging fruits to go after. So the conversion rate just goes up.
Very cool. Are you using other partnering with other, like the one I'm familiar with, Zoom or, um, oh, I forget the other one right off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
we do partner with Apollo. It's a very good partnership as well. So like Apollo comes in as kind of like it adds two more values to Warmly users, where for especially for the ones in Europe, let's say, like being GDPR compliant, we will not tell you who the person is coming from the European market, but we'll still tell you which company they're associated with. Now, if you have a polo in place, what you can do with this play is you can create your personas, and let's say that's sales leaders, marketing leaders, revenue leaders, whatever, right? And you can use Apollo to look up within those companies that came to your site, find those personas, enrich their contact information with emails, LinkedIn profiles, and phone numbers, then push them into an Apollo sequence. So, like it just gives you again more warmer data, if you will.
You use a phrase in your website that I've not heard before, but I like it. It's de-anonymize.
De-anonymize, yes.
So is the path of de-anonymization really a way to be more specific and be a lot more personalized with potential customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like HubSpot, the partner we have, acquired Clearbit, right? So they got it under Breeze inside HubSpot. So what they're basically doing with this is they will tell you who's coming to your website if they exist in your CRM. So you need to already have them as contacts or companies. But what do you do if you don't have them, right? Like, how will you know if a Google ad you're running is performing well or driving the right people to the website? Well, this is where this de-anonymization comes in, right? Like you run an ad, you're getting visitors to the website. Historically, you wouldn't know who those are. You would just see a number of like 7,000 people came to your website or 7,000 clicks. Well, great, but what do I do with this information? Well, de-anonymize it, right? Like see who they are on a company and a prospect level, and then integrate that with HubSpot. So if you don't have them in the CRM, we'll create them automatically as contacts and companies. So now you have a bigger CRM data, and it's actually warm contacts and companies that already showed some sort of interest.
Interesting.
And
Then you can create campaigns specifically for, whatever category of customer or potential customer that they fit into and make it that much more personal and customized. That's fascinating.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of different things. Like one very good play is abandoned form fills. So like people that are doing
Mm,
research, especially on desktop, when they're trying to like buy a software or find something they're looking for business wise, most of the time the website is going to ask you to book an appointment, which usually requires for you to fill in at least an email and your name. Same with the form fills, right? So a lot of times what happens is you open up that form fill and the dog barks, the kid screams, somebody knocks at the door, you get a phone call, all sorts of things can happen. You get distracted and you forget about that form fill and you never complete it. And I guarantee you that most companies don't actually do anything about these abandoned form fills.
Yeah.
So a very common play in Wormly is you can actually retarget these abandoned form fills with emails. So it doesn't matter if you complete it or not complete it, we still have the information. So we'll send you an email saying something like, hey, Tom, you started filling in a form. It seems like you got distracted by something, so you never filled the form. Were you interested in XYZ? So it kind of like brings that conversation back.
It's one more opportunity to try and start the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, like you've already probably spent marketing money to drive that person to the website. And just because they got distracted in that specific moment, you're
Right.
losing that money. So why not retarget them again via email to try and bring them back to life?
Another thing that you talk about a lot are the agents. Tell us about how agents pick up the the work in this workflow.
Yeah. So are you referring to AI agents?
Yes.
Yeah. So we do have a partner called 11x, which is an AI SDR, which basically means that you can build a workflow, which is going to be SDR day-to-day job workflow, and AI can completely do that for you. So, like there are a lot of companies that instead of hiring more SDRs are hiring AI SDRs or are basically investing money into technology like Wormly. So the logic is instead of having a bigger team to manage, have a smaller team that is more effective.
Mm.
So the agents pick up on the SDR, but you also have marketing and demand gen. So like all of the the pillars, if you would, of a marketing and sales organization that's trying to bring in new customers, you seem to be touching on with the agents.
Yeah, absolutely. Within the orchestration in Wormly, you can kind of like build different workflows. So, for example, like a very common play within our AE team is going after closed lost opportunities or active deals on the website. So, imagine you're an account executive, you have a huge pipeline, like so many open deals, maybe even more closed lost opportunities for many different reasons. You can possibly track all of these different deals and stay on top of them if you're doing everything manually. So a common orchestration that you can do, which is kind of like duplicating yourself with AI, is if somebody which was a closed lost opportunity comes back to the website, you can recognize that information, see the reason for being closed lost in HubSpot, and reference that in an email outreach saying something like, Tom, looks like we spoke 3 months ago. The reason why we kind of like broke the conversation was budget at that time. I see you back on the pricing page. Does this mean that
Mm.
budget is might be approved this time? Open to a quick conversation, XYZ.
Tell us a little bit about how you see buyer behavior in this highly automated. I've always tried to err on the side of conservatism, not wanting to make somebody feel like we were being invasive. But that was, it's been a while. How do you see buyers reacting to that kind of outreach?
Yeah, so Kate, it depends on the audience. So it depends like who you're reaching out to. I always say like if like a cybersecurity company comes to your website and you know their information and you reach out and say like, hey Kate, I saw you were on the pricing page, they're probably gonna get real defensive. But if it's I don't know, like a SaaS company selling a $15 a month subscription product, they're gonna be impressed, right? So it totally depends on like the audience you go after.
Mm.
So sometimes we kind of like advise don't tell people that you know that they were on the website. Do exactly what you would do with cold outreach. You just know the information beforehand that this is what they're looking for. This is what they did on the website. This is when they did it. Here's the highest chance for you to get a response if you mention this, this, and this.
Mm. Yeah.
So it depends.
Like most big things in life.
Yeah.
It depends.
Do you, so in response, the example that you're giving, in the response, do you write the content or does the customer write the content?
So you can kind of like choose. Let me actually pull a step back. Um, do you mean like does Warmly write content on behalf of our users, or do they like?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not doing content for our clients,
Okay.
so they kind of like come up with their own sequences.
Gotcha.
Or like AI chatbot workflows. We can give you examples and workflows, playbooks that you can kind of like feel free to copy paste, but you obviously need to change the content to kind of like make sense about your offer, your product, your service, whatever you have out there.
Gotcha.
That's why
But
companies like ours exist.
yeah, Clay also comes in here where you can kind of like generate more content about messaging and how to approach people.
Hmm.
I sounds to me like I'm just barely scratching the surface of Clay with how I use it.
Yeah, there are so many things that you can do with Clay. Like, and that's fine. Like, a lot of people, Kate, think that we're just an AI chatbot, right? So, like, until you start using something on a daily basis, and it kind of like you almost get obsessed with the tool, you probably are underusing it, and that's most of the time the case with all these new all these new technologies.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming trying to think through what the role of each tool is and then how to make them work together and build those workflows.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like we can't all be like Clay experts, HubSpot experts, like Warmly experts. You might be very good at one thing, but then if you just see the value of Clay or Warmly, maybe it's better to hire somebody to do it for you, right? So in the case with HubSpot, there are so many companies that invest in HubSpot and then just like don't know what to do with. This is where people like you come in, where you kind of like guide them exactly what they need to do with HubSpot. Here are the workflows. Here's the setup. This is what you need to do to like use the most out of it and be super successful with it. From the other side, Clay has done very good job with their partnerships, where they have all these different Clay experts that will come in and manage Clay for you. And then we're doing something similar at Warmly, where our partners can kind of like help you manage your Warmly account, or you can hire SDRs, AI enabled SDRs from Warmly to sit on your Warmly account day in and day out and convert the website traffic coming in.
So you really offer an end-to-end service.
Yeah, or just like use 11x and do it with AI completely. It's all up to preferences and budget.
So do you have any case studies or stories that you like to tell in terms of how people are using this and the kind of results that they're getting?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like if you go to our website, go to warmly.ai, go to customers, we have a wall of love where we have more than 200 different case studies, which is like 80% of our customers. So super proud to say that like we rarely lose customers. Obviously, they love the platform, they're seeing results, so they're staying longer with us. But yeah, like Seamless is a very good example. I think, I'm not sure about the exact numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but I think they booked 40 meetings in 2 weeks, in the first 2 weeks of using Quarterly.
Wow.
And we're talking about Seamless AI.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
incredible.
amazing. Yeah.
So you're able to market and pretty much assure your clients an immediate ROI.
Yes. I mean, like, we're so confident in this, we have a free version. So if you don't believe that Wormly is going to be valuable, well, go test it for free, right? And I guarantee you, if you use it correctly with the data we give you for free, you're still going to be able to book an extra demo or close an extra deal. It's just a matter of like how long is your sales cycle, what works for you so far. Are you going to implement all the things that work and kind of like use Wormly in the right way to get the benefits of it, right? So, like having that free version helps a lot of people kind of like test it first, see how it plays, and then when they see the value, they say like, I don't want to have only 500 free credits because my traffic is getting 50,000 visitors per month. So you kind of like burn those credits in a few hours.
Mm.
So that's really interesting because that's how we got to know you, right? The
Yeah.
experience of working with Warmly was so easy, and we started to see immediate value, and we have introduced it to clients, and it's just been a really great experience working with you guys.
I'm glad that that's the case.
So, okay, I got to ask about the cowboy hat.
All right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because you're not the only one in the company that wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the newest one to have a cowboy hat. I just got this custom made from. Let me actually see where it's made in. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it is Texas. So Master Hatters of Texas, MHT. So the story is basically like in the very early days of Wormly, our head of revenue Keegan, which is from Phoenix, Arizona, very western, right? So obviously cowboy hats are common around there, and he was about to go to the very first. I mean, maybe it's not the very first, but one of the first events for Wormly in-person events. And we're super super small at that point. We don't really have a lot of budget to kind of like spend money on marketing and promoting events. So he's like, how do I stand out in this huge group of people? And he gets an idea to just wear the cowboy hat, and it's going to stand out. If you're the only one with cowboy hat at the event, people are going to come up to you. So it worked, and we kind of like kept the tradition until today. So that's the story of the cowboy hat.
So you've had a good experience. What's it like when you walk into a room wearing a cowboy hat?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago I was at an AI conference here in Europe, and like there was like 500-600 people in the room. We were among the last 30-40 to walk in the room, and it's three of us. We walk in with the cowboy hats, and everybody's just like looking at us. It almost makes you feel uncomfortable, but you know the value of it. You know that these people are going to come up to you afterwards. And keep in mind, this is in Europe, in the in South Europe. So cowboy hats are almost like non-existent. So nobody sees a cowboy hat. So
So
you
it's a
walk
real
in with one.
icebreaker.
Yeah, yeah. So then like people come up to you, ask you about a cowboy hat, compliment on the looks, ask you what you do, what the company does, and it kind of like opens up a lot of conversations as opposed to without a cowboy hat.
That's great.
That's great.
I
And a
love
real,
it.
this show is about sales, marketing, and rock and roll. And to your point, there's a lot of things you can spend good money on. There's a lot of things you can spend on that are useless. But there's a lot of things you can do that don't cost a lot of money and just really differentiate you and build that personal brand that starts the conversation to connect to the corporate brand.
Absolutely.
That's great. So, um, in all of your experience in working with this, one of the things we really like to dig into is how do marketing and salespeople advise their CEOs, the people who are driving the business, right? The people who have P&L responsibility, because they're disconnected from the act of marketing or the act of selling in most cases. And so, if there was a piece of advice from your corner of the room that you could give to the leaders of companies in general, what would that be?
Well, if it's an advice for sales or marketing leaders, it's gonna be, like you're the ones that know about marketing and sales in the company. That's why you were hired for the position. So go and talk to the CEO if you think that somebody's not working or you have a tool that is under leverage or you're spending a lot of money on something that the team is not using, go and make the change. Like, talk with them. And then if you're a CEO, the different advice is get out of the way of your sales and marketing people. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, you hire them for a reason. So if they tell you that a specific tool is not working for them, is super expensive, nobody is using it, do something about it. I don't care that they're your friends and that's why you kind of like force your team to use the tool. Like, that's not how you build a business. So trust your marketing team, trust your sales team, and give them the tools that they want to use and are confident that they're going to be successful.
That's a great leadership rule is get out of the way of your team
Yep.
Yeah.
and let them make their own mistakes.
Even better.
All right, so to kind of pivot here to our favorite part of the show, you mentioned you're in Southern Europe.
Yep.
Our show's about rock and roll, but we've had people on from all over the world, and we've had people on who don't like rock and roll, prefer another type of music. Tell us. So I really wanted to open it up as a conversation about music, and if you love rock and roll, that's great too. But tell us about your formative experience with music and what you like to listen to.
Yeah, well, I'm like fairly from the new generations. Like, I'm 28, so growing up as a kid in like, the Balkan region of like southeastern Europe, you kind of like hear a lot of different things. You don't really get like live concerts like in the US or like some Western European countries. That's like almost non-existent back in the day when I was growing up. So you kind of like are forced to listen to music that your uncle is listening on their TV or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So I'm actually glad that my uncle was a rock and roll person. So like music from like Nirvana, Metallica, like Slipknot,
Nice.
Guns N' Roses, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I kind of like grew up with that music, and I'm still listening to it. Like when I have to like travel with my car. That's what I'm gonna listen to for 3-4 hours straight.
So kind of a music with a harder edge, 90s orientation.
Yeah,
Um, that was so
like
cool.
sometimes I want to switch it up and be like more like in the modern era with like the electronic music. So it kind of like depends on the vibe.
Uh, so have you had the opportunity to go to any concerts, or is it all through the
Unfortunately, not. Yeah,
no?
no. I mean, like here where we have like the discos, it's typically they're bringing either like a DJ
Mhm.
from somewhere local, and it's gonna be like random music that like the new generations listen, or it's gonna be somebody that is like in the folk music, which is traditional for the spaces.
Yeah.
So that's like nowhere near rock and roll or anything like it. Back in the old country, though, Yugoslavia, there was a lot of rock and roll, and I didn't live in that time, but my parents did. So there are many like Croatian, Serbian, Macedonian, Slovenian songs which are very good rock and roll songs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to. I actually used to work for a Serbian group in New York City,
Okay,
the financial software, and
nice,
uh, they were in their kids were into American rock and roll, and they were bringing ideas, and their music was mostly from the old country.
nice. Yeah, it was like music was very very good back in the old country. Like it was being invested in.
Well, I just love how music forms the experience, helps form the experience that we bring today. Tom and I met, uh, I think, after a networking event. We went out for coffee, and we realized that both of us, many years ago, our first concert was the same band in two different cities, and we
Okay.
had an instant thing, something in common to talk about.
In the same year.
Yep. And
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
so, well, when you do come over here to the United States, you got to look us up. And if you get to Colorado, we'll take you out to Red Rocks. It's a concert venue that's built into the mountains.
Are cowboy hats common around there?
In Colorado, sure.
Yeah, not every day. I think, probably more Texas, Arizona, you see them more, but you definitely see cowboy hats around here. Boots, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eastern Colorado for sure.
Yep.
Farming country, ranch country.
Yep,
Yeah.
I've never been to the US. It's definitely on the list. So hopefully someday, like when I come there, I've already been working 10 years with all sorts of different companies, so I have so many people to kind of like visit there. But yeah, hopefully one day.
Yeah. Good.
Very cool. Well, we'd love to host you.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been very informative. And is there anything else that you'd like to, that you didn't have a chance to mention, just in terms of what you're doing and your your
I mean
sales?
that's pretty much it. If anybody that's watching this is like an agency that is helping companies with like marketing, sales, revenue, GTM, I'd love to talk about partnerships. And if you just happen to have a business that is driving traffic to the website and you want to see who those people, companies are that are coming to the website, then also feel free to contact me and I'll give you a free account.
And I can highly recommend it, having gone through your process. Really thoughtful. We learned a lot. And even today, I've learned even more about integrations with Clay, and Zoom Info is one of the ones I was thinking of, and Apollo.ai we use quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to taking it to the next step now with you.
Absolutely.
Well, Boris, thank you so much. Tom, as always,
Yeah.
really
Thank
enjoyed.
you, Boris. We learned a lot from you. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me to be here, and I'm glad that I was able to bring in some value and kind of like bring in some new things, and also tell you about the clay integration as a new thing. So we should probably test it out as a next thing in your account.
That sounds great. Thank
All
you.
right.
And everyone who's listening, we're here on most Thursdays, not every Thursday, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we look forward to the next one. We've got several scheduled here coming up in the next few weeks. So everybody have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for tuning in.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.